Hi everybody, I'm just doing this video to show you what to do on some of the maths pages that I've sent out to you. I was up in Chapel Street earlier today and I've sent out 2 weeks worth of work to you. David and Angelique, I haven't sent anything to you guys because you're working on your portfolio, but for everybody else I'm going to just run through what I've sent out, okay? The first thing that you'll see when you open up the pack is you have some addition. Now there's 5 numbers here, but I think you're all going to be fine on this. You just add the 5 numbers up, start on the right hand side as always with the ones or the units, and then move over to the tens. And don't forget, when you're adding, say on this one here, 3 plus 7 is 10, plus 9 is 19, plus 7 is 26. You put the 6 down under the units here and you carry the two tens that make the 20 over here into the tens column, okay? And then add that along with all the other numbers that you have there. Now in these worksheets you do have the answers. Okay, I've sent those on to you as well. Please don't use your calculators to do the adding. Give them a try, and if you're getting frustrated, you can have a look at the answers and see if you're on the right track. You can use your calculator to check the answers either if you want to, but please try and do them on paper, either on the worksheets provided or in your copy or wherever it is. So it's just for practice to get you going again on addition, because we haven't done any of the basic stuff in a while. Okay, now I'm just going to pause for a moment till we go to the next one and I will come back to you then, okay? Okay, back again guys, and I'm just going to open up some subtraction that I closed by mistake. Okay, so the next sheet you'll see after the addition is the subtraction one here, and it's just 2-digit numbers from each other. These are fairly straightforward. None of them are going to cause you much pain. Just keep an eye out when you have a smaller number on the top than the bottom that you'll have to regroup. So for example, on this one, 0 take away 6, we can't do. Okay, so we have to go over to the 9, cross that out, and we'd make it an 8 and bring the 1 over here to make this 10 rather than 0. And then you do 10 minus 6 is 4 and 8 minus 7 is 1. Okay, again, you have the answers with these guys. It's just for practice. So try and do them yourself. Don't use a calculator. You can use a calculator to check them, but don't use a calculator initially. Just get yourselves back into the habit of doing the sums. So that's that one. And then there is a third one, this one here. These are bigger numbers, 3-digit numbers that I want you to subtract. So these will take a little bit more work, but the same principle applies, okay? You always start on the right, take the bottom number from the top number. If you need to regroup, cross out a number to the left-hand side so that you can make the number on top bigger than the number on the bottom, and see how you get on. You have the answers for these two. Check them on the calculator if you want. And remember the trick with subtraction, guys. When you get your answer, okay, whatever the answer is to this sum here, if you add that number, 153, to the answer you got, you should end up with what you had in the first place, 395, okay? Because this number plus whatever is left when you take it away, i.e. the answer, is the same as the total in the first place. Okay, so that's a trick to check your subtraction, okay? The answer plus what you took away should leave you with the number that you had in the first place. So same rules, try it without the calculator, check the answers if you need to, check your answers with the calculator, and let me know if you have any problems with it. Okay, I'm just going to pause there and move on to the next set of work that I sent you, okay? Okay, so the next one you're going to see on the pack that I sent you out is this mobile phone addition and subtraction, okay? So this says Sammy bought a £10 or €10, it doesn't matter, top up and got 300 free texts. The table shows how many of those texts she used in a week. Okay, so let's have a look at the table here. Okay, so we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And for example, on Monday, she sent her mom 5 texts, her boyfriend 9. She sent 12 texts to her best friend and 2 others. So it carries on like that down all the way through to Sunday. The first question you have to answer here is how many texts did she use each day? So in that case, you just add up for each day the number of texts that were sent and put them in the total used here, okay? You do that for every day and that will answer the first part. How many did she have left at the end of the week? Okay, so when you've added up each day, okay, you'll see how many texts she's used altogether by adding up that total, okay? and you know that she got 300 free texts. So when you've added up this number, this number, this number, this number, and so on, all the way down to Sunday, add all of those up together, see how many she used for the whole week, take that away from 300 and you'll get your answer. Okay. And then it asks you, what do you think happened on Sunday? So see what your answer is for this one, and then just have a think about what might have happened on Sunday and give me a few ideas. You can just write it down here. Okay, so that's page 1 of that exercise. The next page is very similar. It's about Jordan, who bought a £20 top-up and got 180 evening and weekend minutes. And then the table shows the evening and weekend minutes he used that week. Okay, so again, the first question asks you how many minutes did he use each day. So you just have to add up all of the numbers here, okay? And again, don't use a calculator initially. Use it to check your answers, but don't use it to add it up in the first place. This is just for practice for your adding. Okay, and you do that for every day, and that will give you the answer to part 1. And then they ask what his weekly total was. So again, when you have all of the addition done to get each separate day, add up all the days and see what he used for the total for the week. Okay, now you'll notice that he actually uses more than 180 minutes. Okay, so what they're asking you to do next is, when did he run out of credit? Okay, so you'll already know how many minutes he used each day, so you have to find out at which point did he go over 180. Okay, and tell them which day that happened on. And then the last part is, how much credit did he have to buy? Now, as we said already, he used more than his 180 minutes, so he had to buy more credit to cover him for the week. So I'm just going to flick quickly to show you how I did this. So I'm going to try to flick quickly and show you how I did this. Give me a second. Okay, it doesn't seem to want to do it for me. I'm going to pause and flick and come back. Okay, back again, guys. Now, I'll just show you this very briefly. I don't want to leave all the answers on the page, but I got all the answers and I got my total. Okay, and I figured out when he ran out of credit. So I found that he had to buy 206 extra minutes of credit. Okay, you should be able to figure that out. Won't stay there for me. Okay, but how much more credit did he have to buy? Well, we already know that 180 minutes cost him 20 euros. So to find out how much 1 minute costs, you divide 20 euros by 180 to see how much 1 minute costs. And you can use your calculator for that. So you're dividing 20, there you are, 20.00 divided by 180, and you'll get 0.11111. You can just call it 0.11. Okay, he had, by my calculation, 206 extra minutes to buy. So then you have to multiply 0.11 by 206 and you'll get 22.66 or 22.67. Okay, so that's how much extra credit he had to buy. So like I said, use your calculator to do the division and the multiplication. See if you get the same answer as me, and that's just a little bit of practice of your division and multiplication. That's a little bit difficult to do without a bit of practice on paper, so go ahead and use your calculator with those. Okay, I'm going to pause again and move on to the next part. Okay, so the next part, guys, is kitchen decimals, and you have this worksheet here which shows a kitchen, and it asks you to choose 3 things that you would like to buy for your kitchen. Work out the total cost and which notes will you need to pay for it, and how much change will you get. Okay, now you get a list of items here, so you can work off the list of items. Don't worry that it's pounds sterling, you can just use euros there instead and just use the same numbers. So you can say the set of pans was 24.97 euros. Okay, so you have a set of pans, kitchen scales, a kettle, a toaster, microwave, cutlery, a dinner set, 2 mugs and a wine rack. Okay, so it's asking you to pick 3 of those and state which notes you would use to pay. Now what they mean by that is we have €5 notes, €10 notes, €20 notes and €50 notes. So I want you to tell me which notes you would use. When you work out the cost of what you're buying, which notes would you use to do that? Now, I have also sent you some handwritten instructions. I'm going to flick over to them. For some reason, I can't flick while the video is recording, guys. So I'm just going to flick over to the instructions I sent because I don't know if you'll be able to read my writing. So bear with me. Okay, so here we are. Here's my lovely writing. So I tell you to pick 3 items, add them, and state the notes you'd use and the change that you'd get. Okay, so you're going to pick the 3 items. You're going to add up how much they cost altogether. Then you're going to say what notes you would use to pay for them and how much change you'd get. So you have a little bit of addition and a bit of subtraction there. You can use your calculator for this, okay? Number 1 then here, or which is really number 2, is pay for the kitchen scales with €10. How much change would you get? And then I say, if you want to buy the pans and the kettle, would you have enough in €40? If you give €45, how much change would you get? Or if you gave €50, how much change would you get? Okay, so it's just a couple of different sums. And then the last bit is if you buy a wine rack, 2 mugs and cutlery, okay, and you have all the prices for these, okay, will you have enough money in €20? What change would you get from €25, or what change would you get if you gave them a €50 note? Okay, so it's just a couple of different sums each time. You have to add up the amount that the 3 items come to, and then I ask you, do you have enough money in this amount? You have to say yes or no. And then I give you 2 amounts and I ask you to work out the change if you gave that amount of money. So €45 here. When you add the pans and the kettle, what change would you get from it? Or if you gave them €50, maybe you only have a €50 note, so you can't give them 45. And the same for this one here. Maybe you have a 20 and a 5, or 2 10s and a 5, okay, to pay for the wine rack, the mugs and the cutlery. But if you don't, maybe you have a 50 and you give them that. So you have to work out the change from each one, and remember to answer the first question here in the first place, okay? Don't be afraid to listen to this video a few times because obviously my handwriting is not that easy to read, so I apologise. Don't worry about the rest of the stuff on this page. It's just examples that I worked out in another class last week. Okay, I'm going to pause there and go to the last part. Okay guys, the last 2 handouts that you have in the pack that I'm sending out are about decimals. We'll go into this in more detail next week. If you're struggling with this, just forget about them till next week and I'll do a separate class on these, because if you're familiar with it, it's easy, but if you're not familiar with it, it's very difficult. So the first page asks you about the value of the red digit. Now, that may not be so easy to see on the handout that you've got. So just let me explain this very briefly, first of all. So this number is 17.835, okay? The point is here, this doesn't move. You've got 7 in the units, you've got a 1 in the 10, that makes our 17. And then for our 0.835, this is always tenths, this is always hundredths, and this is always thousandths. So the 8 goes there, the 3 goes there, and the 5 goes there. Now, in 17.835, the value of the 3 digit, this one here, is 3 hundredths, or 3 over 100. If that makes sense to you, go ahead and try the rest. If it doesn't, just leave it until next week, okay? And hopefully we'll have people in the class and I can explain it. Just to make sure you can see it, it says complete these, write the value of the red digit. The red digit here is the 3, here is the 6, here is the 5, here it's the 8, here it's the 6 again, and here it's the 9, okay? So if you understand the top bit, go ahead and try this. And then you can try this part as well if you're okay with the rest of it. And the last part is probably a little bit more difficult. You have to rearrange each set to make a decimal number as near as possible to 1. Okay, there must be one number in front of the decimal point. So for example, 6.401. Okay, so you can't have a number like 0.6401. You have to have a number in front of the decimal point. Okay, so give that one a shot as well, okay? And then for those of you who were okay with the first decimal worksheet, you can go ahead and do this one. And it explains the signs here, okay? That's greater than, the crocodile mouth, and that's less than, okay? And it also shows you how to compare the numbers by writing them in the column, okay? To see which is the biggest and which is the smallest, okay? The first part here is to put them in order of size, okay? Starting with the smallest. And then you use these numbers to fill in